voice. Filming the cops, it's our choice. Making the meetings, breaking the mold. Making the news, the truth be told. On the tube, we spread the word. You people know it's absurd. Free press, we won't digress. Good citizen, yeah, that's our address. Always fighting for what's right. We're the ones who shine so bright. Digress, good citizen, yeah, that's our address. Always fighting for what's right. We're the ones who shine so bright. Start, we the speakers of truth. No doubt, check out the people on YouTube. Shout it out, stand up, let your voices break the chains. Civil rights, free press, this is our game. Media that reveals the hidden facts. We won't be silenced, watch our backs. Government watchdogs, keeping them in line. First Amendment, our freedom to shine. Courts, cities, towns, it's time to rise. Never back down, hold them accountable. No compromise, we're winning this fight one step at a time. Good citizen media, we're here to shine. Rise up, hear the call. United voices, we won't fall. In the streets we stand so tall. Holding power, we'll break the wall. We are the people, we hold the key. Accountability, we set it free. From the shadows we bring the lights. Together we fight, we claim our rights. Cameras rolling, truth on display.
Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, depending on where you're at.
Good citizens, we make our stand. In every heartbeat, we take command. We are the people, we hold the
We have a hell of a show for you today.
We set it free. From the shadows,
Today we got Gary Reed on the show.
Together we fight, we claim our rights.
We also have Mayor Dwayne. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your last name and I don't want to butcher it. We'll say Mayor Dwayne.
We expose the lies, uncover
We also have Terry Kim. We have Terry Kim with us. And the one and only John Denicola. Welcome in, gentlemen.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yes, thank you.
Oh. My fade went away to just straight deadness. Sorry about that.
Been there, done that.
Technical difficulties, Gary. You know all about it, my man.
All about that.
So how are we doing today, gentlemen?
Well, thank you.
Doing good.
Doing good, kid. All things considered, we're doing good.
Awesome.
Well,
Awesome.
appreciate
Well, we have a special
Appreciate
guest
you guys.
on the show today. We got Mayor Dwayne from Rocky Ford. Thank you for showing up on the show today. We greatly appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, everyone. Happy to join you all. And yeah, happy to jump in on some conversation. All things happening down here in Southern Colorado, it seems like.
Well, we've had Gary and we've had Terry on our show before, so a lot of our viewers are familiar with Gary and Terry. But why don't you do us a favor? Why don't you give us like a brief background, like how you became mayor, like you know, if you want. I mean, tell us your story on what led you up to be mayor, really quick.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so I guess I'll kind of start from some of the beginning. I grew up bouncing back and forth between Denver and Rocky Ford. My my grandparents on my mom's side, both sides, they're from Rocky Ford. My mom left, moved up to Denver, you know, when she was an adult, whatever. And we lived in Denver, you know, always kind of tough household, I guess, you know, so homeless, bounced around a lot, lived with a lot of family and friends. So Rocky Ford was where my grandparents were. So we always, you know, this was for sure the place where we could always come back. So I went to elementary school, middle school, high school, both places. Pretty much did almost all of high school here in Rocky Ford, though. So graduated Rocky Ford, class of 2004. It just hit my 20-year reunion this year. Graduated. Graduation was a Saturday morning. I was back in Denver Sunday. I had graduated and I was heading back up for college. So I was supposed to, well, I started college at CU Denver. And pretty quickly in my college career, my young adult life, I got myself in trouble. So I got involved in a shooting in September of 2004. Got convicted, ended up being sentenced to 9 years in DOC. So spent a little over 7 years incarcerated. After that, got out, went right back to school, kind of started my life over, and met my wife, reconnected with my wife. We were high school friends and had a thing in high school, but reconnected, started our family. So in 2018, we moved here to Rocky Ford. I work in IT, so I had already kind of been working remotely. So it worked. So we moved to Rocky Ford in 2018, kind of moved the family here. I have some little ones. At that time they were like in preschool, but now they're in what, 3rd and 5th grade. So wanted to raise the family back home. So in coming back to Rocky Ford, coming back to my hometown, I have all the memories of Main Street. Gary's been around a long time. So he can probably remember seeing all the kids out there on Main Street, walking up and down, different groups. There would be groups of kids parked in front of duck walls. There'd be a different group of kids parked in front of Railroad Park, a bunch of kids over in the parking lot of Plains, and it was just totally different. So when I came back in 2018, I really kind of seen a ghost town, and I wasn't okay with just with that. So pretty quickly, my wife and I said, what can we do to change this? We don't want to come and live in a ghost town. So we started an organization called Small Town Project back in 2019, and our focus at the time was on economic development, workforce development. In 2020, COVID hit. That kind of shifted everything. So we shifted into addressing food insecurity. So now we run the Rocky Ford Food Share. That's our largest program. So we have the food pantry that's open twice a week. We have about 120 households visit every time we're open. So running through that, doing economic development, like I said, we started working with the city, working with the previous city manager, and we had worked on a grant for community development, economic development. So through that grant, we were able to hire a community development coordinator, director. And so we had someone in that position for a little while, and just kind of being involved, and also just kind of seeing from the outside. I don't know, there was a lot of things not happening right, and a lot of that comes from the administrative side. We have the different branches of government, if you will. So the council is this governance branch where we set policy, we approve the budget. We can kind of show what the community prioritizes by how the budget's funded. But really we're kind of oversight there. And then as far as the day-to-day operations, how those priorities are carried out, that's our administration. So there was a lot of things just not working right. There was a council vacancy seat that opened up in August of 2021 in my ward. So I stepped up, did my letter of interest, came in, did my interview, and I was appointed. I think at that time it would have been a 6-0 vote to fill that seat. And then, yeah, just kind of that put me on a different side of things, you know. And then I'd say the information flow was something that you know, I kind of learned and really stuck out to me, as far as, you know, how much information, I guess, how much information does come to councils, and how much information, public information, can die with council if they so choose.
Yeah.
And that, you know, really where there was just another extra thing that, you know, stuck out to me as something that needed to be changed. You know, if you follow along some of the history over the last couple of years, I've had a really rocky relationship with the previous mayor and the previous city manager, and I'd say rightfully so. You know, so we in 22, no, I guess the beginning of 23, I was elected by the council to serve as mayor pro tem. And then I think it was July 17th of last year, I announced that I was going to run for mayor against our previous mayor, who still had a term left. And at that time, we didn't know that she wasn't going to run, but she decided not to run after that. So, you know, here I am. There's been some controversy along the way. Like I told you, I'm a convicted felon. I served my time. That's, you know, that's a big part of my story. It's a big part of who I've been along the way, and who I am today.
Right.
So
And-
that's
and-
always something.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, man. Man, it sounds like one hell of a journey for you. Like I was kind of hoping for a little bit more condensed, not, but it's great information for everybody. And I want to use that because I already knew this. We've done a little background on you. We always do a little background on whoever we're going to interview and everything. And I was kind of hoping that you would be open and honest and bring that up, because that's a very inspirational thing, especially for people around here. You know, you can end up, you know, you can end up being on the wrong side and still end up going on the right. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
You can bring yourself back up. It doesn't matter what you've done in your past. Look where he's at. He made mayor. He could possibly go even further than this. Are you thinking about going even further than just mayor?
Rocky Ford in a really, really good place, and you know, operating well to even consider anything like that.
That's
Yeah.
understandable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's very inspirational, bro, and I give you a thumbs up for everything that you've done. I mean, like you said, in your background, putting all together those programs, trying to make the infrastructure better, the place that you live better.
And I went through the one small town, and I mean, you guys put a lot of work into that. I can see, you know, it's at the timing, like you said, kind of terrible timing, you know, not to laugh at such a, you know, I mean, you guys you put a lot of work into it, and who would have known, I guess. But yeah, the timing of that, I can understand how that didn't quite pan out, but the idea behind it was great, you know.
We had a dropout. We're having some storms over here, so he's coming back. There he is.
Let me ask you this, Mayor. Here in Los Animas, we have what's called a weak mayor. What's the system like in Rocky Ford?
We're the same as Los Animas. We're both statutory cities.
Okay.
There's only 4 strong mayors in Colorado. It's Denver, Pueblo, Colorado Springs, and the town of Mountain View, which is, if anybody's familiar with Denver, it's kind of by Lakeside Amusement Park, and it's about 3 by very small little thing. And they just actually voted to move over to a weak mayor, which is a city manager council form of government.
And see, Terry's on the board in Los Animas for the
Public Works.
Public
I was also on city council
Yeah.
for a while. So I was responsible for causing a big major change up with the way Los Animas ran when I got involved, because I was there when our former mayor Jim Collins, we caught him basically lying to council, and literally overnight he wrote a letter of resignation and walked out that next day. And also, I would like to say I had something to do with the early retirement of our former public works director, because I caught him in active, basically nepotism. He was trying to get the city to invest in property we had no interest in, but because he knew people, he tried to get the city under the guise of public works to pay to get this land assessed. And I was like, that's wrong. So I understand. But I was just wondering how it worked. And,
So if I can jump in there real quick,
Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
you know, I don't know. I don't know what weak mayor is. I've never heard that versus strong mayor. Dwayne, can you explain that to me and probably some other people out there?
Yeah. So I guess basically the strong mayor is they're the CEO. They're the CEO. So in our form of government, in a weak mayor system, the city manager is the CEO. The city manager runs the day to day, and then we're really just a board of directors. So like if you look at Pueblo or if you look at Denver, they have their city council, but then they also have their mayor's office, and those are two separate branches. Whereas with us, we're just board of directors, and my role is really just the chair of the
tiebreaker.
board of directors.
You're
And,
the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's how it is here. If we got a locked council, it's the mayor who breaks the his vote is the one. It's the only time the mayor gets the vote, if I recall.
And that is that's not in state statute, so that's something that
Right.
you all have in your
Each place is
bylaws?
different there.
Really?
Yep.
Far
Yep.
out. Okay.
Yeah, there's ordinances that can be made in
Yeah, no,
place
right.
to make that. Yeah. So I get what you're saying there, Mayor.
Yeah, so over here in Rocky Ford, I'm equal, the same as every other council member. Our previous mayor had it in her head that she wasn't allowed to make a motion or to I guess that would be the only thing. But I can make a motion. It's better if I'm running the meeting and the rest of the council kind of is able to take that action. But legally by law, I can make a motion if needed.
Yeah, and I also think, if I may, I think that also, as a mayor in a position, be able to, am I still on?
Yeah, you're still on.
Okay. I think you're still in a position to help guide city council in keeping them all on the same path, as I'll say, because I've noticed that we're here, especially, they tend to splinter off and they all have their own little pet projects, and nobody really wants to get together and try to get anything done at one time. And I think that's one thing a good mayor should do, which the mayor I'm dealing with now here in Los Animas, Mayor Shoup, I think he's one of those kind of mayors, to where he listens and he's trying to corral everybody to get on the same page, because I think I've noticed that's really hard with rural America councils, basically, is getting everybody on the same page.
Yes, sir. That's what we need. Uh-oh. Gary's got a phone call. Let's mute Gary here. Gary is muted.
Gary.
I have a question for the mayor. What do you think about city managers and what they consider their parachute payouts when they're leaving?
Yeah, it's I guess I've never had my own professional position where I've had like severance built into my offer. So that, I guess that was new when I kind of dug into that and learned about that. And kind of it jumped out at me right away, like, hey, they pretty much have like this golden parachute, that they basically have to be convicted of a felony, in order to, or resign in order to not get that severance. So it kind of, it binds our hands, to, like, you either got to consider, do we want to let them keep going in this direction and hope that they correct themselves, or do we want to just cut them loose and pay them to get rid of the problem?
And to add to that, Mr. Mayor, I mean, like, how hard do you find it to get charges even when you know somebody's doing wrong? I notice anything south of Pueblo, it is hard. It doesn't matter how much documented proof you have. Like, I mean, we deal with a lot of towns, so I don't know. I'm your opinion on it, I guess.
Yeah, and like I said, I emphasized the convicted part because they could be charged with something now and go through a 1 to 2 year trial process and then be convicted. So you could technically have to write out a city manager who was convicted of something, or who has been charged with something through their court process, which could last a year, 2, 3 years, depending on how their lawyer strings it along.
Yep.
So it's how many councils would write it out that long? So a lot of them are just going to say, hey, we're going to have to pay to get rid of this problem.
Well, that poses the next question: is during that 2 to 3 years, are they still getting paid by the city or the government that they were working for?
Yeah, it would be, if it depends if you place them. So I guess you could say no. So if you place them on administrative leave without pay, then you're not paying them payroll like that. But as soon as you terminate them, then they would get that severance. And just kind of looking around. So like I said, that was new to me. So I did some research, and it's just like, it's standard now that there is severance. And the city managers, they have different associations. So in Colorado, we have the Colorado City and County Managers Association. It's CCMA. And then on the national level, there's ICMA, it's International City Managers Association. And those are they all kind of advocate and teach the city managers to really protect themselves and ask for those big severance packages.
And in the city of Rocky Ford, we went through that with not the last one, but the 2 previous ones. We went through that with, and then John Lyons especially. That was a lot of money that we had to cost us to get rid of him.
Yeah, and Gary, I don't know, if you were kind of following along, but our previous city manager, they hired her in 2018, and they gave her a 1-year contract, and she did the job well enough to get a 1-year renewal over and over. I say that because no one was willing to give her longer than 1 year. And in 22, when it came up, in 21, they never renewed it, and it just strung along. Finally, we had a discussion in the beginning of 22, and I made a motion that we terminate her contract. At that point, that's like when the contract ends, that is that point where we can walk away,
right.
Without any, we can walk away for free at that point. But once we renew that contract, our city manager was a woman, so she's good for that next year. So my motion failed 3-4, and her contract was renewed for another year. I did challenge council at that time. If anyone, I'm hearing a lot of things about how great our city manager is, and I would challenge, like, if anyone's willing to extend her contract more than 1 year. No one was. So it came up again in 2023. Same thing. I made the motion. Motion failed 3-4. And her contract was renewed again through this year, through 24. And then in early this year, in February of this year, with me now as mayor and me receiving more different information, that's another thing that I've kind of learned, that the mayor does receive a lot more information than council normally does, up until November of last year, because now the things that come to me, they go to our council. So now in this new role, I was able to kind of realize and learn that she was in violation of her contract. So I served her with a notice of contract, violation of contract, and at that point, she has time to cure, so she had 30 days to cure. And what it was she was doing kind of consulting, or she was working as the town clerk for the town of Hugo simultaneously.
Right.
And in order to have any other employment or any other employment, she has to have that approved by council. So she had 30 days to either end employment there, or ask for permission from council and get that approved, end employment in Hugo or end employment in Rocky Ford. And she sent a reply about 9 p.m. that evening saying that she was going to resign. So that was February 29th. This was a leap year. I remember that. So it was the 29th, and now we're on to a new chapter.
Mr. Mayor, I had a couple of questions. So a lot of towns that I've seen south of Pueblo, some of them will take their utilities like gas and water, and they'll combine the bills and they'll bill as one bill, right? For people that need assistance, does Rocky Ford break those bills up so that they can get the assistance they need, especially in this type of economy?
So we only provide water, sewer, and trash. And as far as I know, I'm not aware of any of the state, like LEAP or any of those that cover water. So mostly everything is on the electric and gas side, which for us is billed with Black Hills. So to that specific scenario, I think ours is different. And I know on our bills, we do have line items for trash, sewer, and water. And then we also charge $2 a month for mosquito spraying.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah, Aguilar seems to put their water and their gas bill together, and they charge it together. If you wanted to pay it separately, you could not pay it separately. But I had recently found out that they do actually separate the bill for LEAP. So that way LEAP only pays for the gas and not the water. So they can do it for LEAP, but they couldn't do it for the citizens.
And I heard
here in
rumor
Aguilar.
that LEAP is actually going to start doing some water. I did hear rumor on that.
I heard rumor on that as well.
That would really help us, because like I said, we have a really big, we're looking at a rate increase on our sewer right now. And we know that we're going to have to be doing an increase on the water once we know what that work is going to look like. And if there's some additional assistance available, I think it's going to really help help our citizens, help the customers, because we're in a pickle.
I do know as a landlord in Rocky Ford that I have had tenants in the last couple of years, especially as they have applied for LEAP for their city bill. And again, I don't know if that's strictly for water help or what it is, but I do know that at least a couple of those tenants have been helped through the LEAP program. with the water bill. So I
Yeah.
don't know if it's who you talk to.
Yep, I've
or
seen
what-
it happen. It's definitely narrow. It's definitely
Right.
narrow. It's not for everybody. But I have seen it happen. So I think it's coming. And just like anything with government, it's gonna move slow, right? So it's gonna take time before it gets broad. So but the fact that they are doing it is a plus because water's a big deal out here. I mean, everybody's
It's a big deal everywhere.
everybody's purchasing, Well,
That
you
kinda-
go you go to certain parts of the United States, and I mean they're just on a well. It's just that easy, everywhere. Where it's just not the case out this way.
That kind of brings me to my next question, Mr. Mayor. Have you seen anything where there are rising costs and utilities coming to Rocky Ford or any other surrounding areas out there by you?
Yeah, so, so like I said, we run our water, sewer, and trash, our enterprises that the city provides. So on that side, right now we have a large project going on our sewer system. It's going to be about a $28 million project. We got a $21 million loan, and we got about an $8 million grant from the USDA. So that loan is going to be a 2.125% 40-year loan. And it's going to be a revenue bond. So we're basically saying that we're gonna pay for that with this service fee. So we have that we're looking at right now, and we need to get about $39 per customer per household in order to service that loan. So we have to raise our bills by about $39 by 2029. So we know that one's coming for sure. We're going to be hosting a town hall on November 7th, and really just kind of talking about the project, talking about that increase, and then looking at what options the citizens would really prefer. We can jump it up to that $39 now and start building a reserve, and we would build funds, and we would even actually be able to we'd be able to fund the project and not have to take out some portion of the loan. We can kind of spread it evenly and just do a rate increase every year for the next 5 years, or we could just wait until 2029 and put it into effect then. And at that time we wouldn't have any reserve, and we would kind of be starting from zero there. But just we do have options, and we really want to get people's input on what option is gonna make the most sense with people's budgets and knowing other things that are coming. So water on our distribution side, we know we're going to have a big project coming there. We have a master plan that is in the works and should be done within another month or two. And then they're going to tell us, okay, it's going to cost you 20, 30, 40 million to do your water system. And then we're going to be looking at that project and looking at rate increases there. So there's a lot.
Is your city part of the Arkansas Valley Aqueduct they're building? Are you buying? Do you have to pay into that?
So we've been paying into that since 1962. Now, right now, as is, the city of Rocky Ford would not be allowed to connect to it because we currently lose 51% of our water. So what we treat and what makes it to the homes, we're losing 51%. So we need to get that down to 12% to even connect to the Arkansas Valley conduit.
Even the new one that they're installing right now?
Yeah. So in order to connect to that, we have to get our system in shape.
Do you know what's causing such a large disparity in loss?
Yeah, we have a lot of the old asbestos cement distribution pipes, and we have a lot of the old cast iron pipes that are just, you know, broken. And you know, they've scoped some of them, and I don't know what the diameter on them is, but they look, you know, from the camera, they look just, or my say it's there, but with all the crud and stuff, you know, the hole's about that. And you know, you can pour Fiji water in there, and by the time it makes it to our house, after traveling through that, it's yeah. So there's a lot there.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that with these, because we, as a town, I don't know if Dwayne mentioned it yet, but we replaced, or in the process of replacing all of the water meters, and I am myself personally, I'm hoping that a good amount of that percentage, that 51%, is going to be taken up in the old water meters that were not metering properly, and I'm kind of hoping that that's a lot of it, but yeah, it's you know, it's an aging infrastructure. I don't know what else to say. And then what most people don't understand is Dwayne was right. You have an 8-inch pipe that has a 2-inch hole in the middle, providing water to 8 blocks or whatever, and then at the same time, I know where we've been having trouble as a town, and I know Mayor Dwayne is also along with the council. You know, it's getting people to understand we're talking 2 different systems. We're talking a sewer system, and we're talking a potable water system. And a lot of people, they just don't understand that this if I'm not mistaken, this $39 that we got to come up with is for the sewer system. It has nothing to do with the potable water. And so we're telling guys today that we're going to have to up the bills for the water. And then when we turn around in a few years and have to replace that water system, then we're going to be in trouble, because right now we're just working on the sewer system right now.
Yeah,
Well,
and that's a hard one, you know. And I would like to hear, you know, from some of you all, like, you know, what do you think? You know, because we know we have really bad water, right? And everyone, that's all you know is what comes out of the tap and the drinking water. And sewer is, I mean, sewer's an afterthought.
Yeah.
so
I never even knew how this infrastructure worked until now. But you know, we flush our toilet and that's that. You know, I don't know. It's as long as it's not backing up, that's the only time I ever think about sewer. But the problem with our sewer is, you know, that sewer water goes into the treatment plant and then it's dumped back in the river or is sent back on. So, you know, in just being a good neighbor, being a good citizen, right, as a community, we need to clean our water as best as we can on that end, so we can send it over to Swink and Lahana and Lamar and Kansas, you know, in good shape. So we don't think about it, but you know, there's that whole other side that's really important. And Rocky Ford's been under a compliance order with CDPHE since I think it was 2009. So since 2009, we've been you know, violating our permit levels, and I think can't remember it. I think selenium. So yeah, we have you know, a lot of these byproducts that we're not cleaning out as much as we should. So we've been in compliance orders. So that's why sewer is happening now, and that's why that's the focus. And on our sewer side, there's also a lot of broken pipes. So we're getting a lot of stormwater that comes in. So it's the inflow and infiltration. We get a lot of stormwater that comes into the pipes. And then over at the treatment plant, we are treating more water than we should. So we have a permit based on our usage that we should only be treating, you know, say 100 units. So, you know, over here, when it gets there, we're treating like 120 units, and that's coming from that infiltration. So, you know, there's a lot of things, I knew like zero of any of this, and I probably cared to know any of this before. But now it's like kind of get that deep dive into how everything works. And
well, I have 2 questions for you. Don't you think it would be more cost effective to combine both projects with the sewer and the potable water, right? because if you're going to have to raise the rates 5 years down the road, it's going to be, I think 5 years down the road, depending on how the economy goes, because generally things go up. They very rarely come down. So I think, don't you think it would be more cost effective to combine the two together, get it done now, so that if you had to raise the bills, you could raise it at a set price now so that you could build on that? One. And two, I understand you said that you got a grant from the USDA. Do you generally use a grant writer?
Yeah, so in this case, just to, I guess, speak to the project, the company that we're working with, it's Element Engineering. They're the ones who wrote that grant for us, who wrote the application. The grant is, it's technically a grant. I don't know how much I like calling it a grant, because what it is it's, the grant is basically the contingency, the inflation and escalation contingency. So the 21 million is our loan. That's how much right now, as of today, the project should cost. But by the time it's done in 2029 with the contingencies and inflation and anything, that's where the grant would kick in. So we have to use all of our $21 million loan money first. And then if there's still costs on the project, then we would tip into that grant. So, best case scenario, the project goes as scoped. It would be a $21 million project and we would pay all of that. Worst case scenario, there's, some additional costs, and then that's where that grant is going to cover that. But to your question, the company that we are working with are the ones who did that application and are kind of going after that funding.
Gotcha. We had a question back way back, and he asked it again. What's your opinion, Solano for commissioner? Yay or nay?
I don't know. That name's not familiar to me. What county is that?
Well, it's more Warfano, Los Animas County that he's messing around in now. He's going for county commissioner. The viewer was just wondering if you knew who Henry Solano was and what, if you were a supporter, non-supporter, or whatever your opinion was.
Yeah, that name's not familiar to me.
Okay, so so we've got a lot of viewers. Just to give you a little background, we've got a lot of viewers from all over southern Colorado, from all the way out from Alamosa to all the way out to Los Animas, and anywhere in between, and north and south. So a lot of people don't know exactly where all these places are located. So they're going to ask you questions about certain people that I'm pretty sure that you guys probably should know, but not in a personal level, because you're not in the same districts or anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we do have Henry Solano coming out to the Aguilar meeting, supposedly this Thursday, to tell everybody how to act in a meeting. We do have that. So yes, stay tuned for that, ladies and gentlemen. That should be coming up this Thursday. But we're gonna.
So would improving the water infrastructure bring in people? Is that people in business, right? I mean,
yeah, we would hope. My wife's a realtor, so I kind of we hear a lot from her on. It's always interesting, to learn why people move here, especially if they have no ties here whatsoever. I've never heard of anyone asking her how's the water quality or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know how much that is something people look at. I know the state demographer has said that just Otero County as a whole is supposed to have, I don't remember what the percentage of decline is by 2050. So they're saying that there's going to be a decline. I think we had kind of talked, or someone had asked the question about, if we're good on water, as far as the water shares and the water capacity. Our founders, they had big visions for us. So I think, I don't remember what the number is. I want to say it's like 20,000 or something. But you know, they bought enough water, you know, for us to hit that kind of population back in 1890. And we've sold some water since. I don't think we've done a water sale, Gary, if you know, but it's been a while. We haven't done one
I don't
since,
think we've
like,
actually sold any water. We have sold some like Epispa shares that really didn't do us any good anyway. But
yeah,
but
but
as
like
far
the
as
big
actual sales,
Rocky Ford ditch, I don't think we haven't done that since like the early 2000s. And I think, you know, we learned our lesson there, and you know, the where the community stands on that. So but with that, we still have a lot. So like, if there was a huge, you know, growth and everybody fell in love with Rocky Ford and wanted to move here, as far as the water goes, we would have enough to support people. As far as the infrastructure today, we probably, you know, that would be a problem. So as that infrastructure is built out, you know, then we could, I think then we
And
could support some growth.
also too, I was wondering, did Rocky Ford seek out the grant to remove the lead pipes?
Yeah, so we don't have a whole lot of lead pipes. We're
Yeah,
kind of
I
in
heard
this,
you say asbestos.
we're in this in between. So I don't
Yeah,
remember, I don't know when they were using lead, but we're in this in between. We have some of the really old stuff before
yep,
lead, and we have the stuff after lead.
yep. Yeah, and I didn't hear you mention lead, so that's why I asked, because I figured it can't be a huge issue.
Yeah, I guess it's a good bad problem to have. It's crazy that we have asbestos concrete pipes, or I don't know, concrete cement. I don't remember what the difference of those is, those the words. But yeah, I don't know. It, there's a lot to learn. I don't know. Asbestos, we just hear asbestos is
yeah.
terrible, and then, you know, we learn that there's asbestos in our pipes. But
Just in
I guess,
case your water catches on fire.
I guess it was a good thing, or it's a good thing as long as no one messes with it.
Right. So what if not water, what would help Rocky Ford grow?
As you know, we kind of talked about that, or in my live, you had kind of asked that question about, you know, what growth looks like. And to me, the first step of what I think about growth is just filling in what we already have. So we have a lot of vacant properties and lots where homes once were. You know, so I would see growth starting there. I think our last time we had a list of 91 homes that were those were 91
What
were like
what's
vacant.
a water tap cost? What's a water tap cost off the top of your head?
Yeah, so off the top of my head, I know that one because it's we need to make some changes there, but we're $500.
Okay.
And if you
Yeah.
look around, you know,
Yeah.
everyone is around 2,500, 5,000, 10,000,
Yeah,
12,500.
yes. You're
So
right.
that's that kind of goes into where, you know, why we are where we are, because, you know, when I don't know, when
Right,
the
because I
business
think you guys could
decision,
generate a lot of funds there, right? I mean,
yeah,
because
we could have.
honestly, like, okay, so I think the average that I see is around $5,000. You know, I mean, I think that's probably a little expensive myself, but that's the average that I see. Because, like you say, I see them up $8,000-$10,000 even. You know, as low as $2,000, but 500, that is quite low.
Yeah, it is. So that's something we're looking at. And, you know, I think right now, you know, we need to get our fees right in good place. You know, it's going to be different because it's a change, and, you know, the dollars are going to go up, but it's almost like we're like right sizing where we should be as far as our fees. And, you know, for sure the first year or so, everyone's gonna you know, it's gonna feel like a big
I'm
thing.
I'm
But
just I'm just thinking, you know, 5,000 per tap versus 500 per tap. I mean, that builds an account up quite quickly when you see even just a small amount of growth, you know.
Yeah.
And that talks to the padding that you were referring to earlier, right? Or
Mhm.
could.
Yeah, but good citizen, from what I can see on this, they don't have any violations or any type of formal enforcement actions going against them right now, like other places that we know of. So they're able to put out water taps. I mean, you don't have any restrictions not putting in water taps, do you?
No.
No, and that's what I mean. At $500, I think they're taking a huge loss as the citizens there.
So
You know?
I just dropped in the chat. I think I did. I don't see it yet, but this is from 2016. But this is the municipal water wastewater rate survey. So it kind of shows you where some of the cities and towns are as far as their rates, their regular rates, and then their tap fees and different things like that.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's one thing we kind of watch around, you know, is water and sewer taps. And yeah, I mean, and I definitely could see that going up and it being helpful to the fund itself, to try to replace some of it. Yeah, I mean, I would think that would be a problem for the growth, you know. Again, like you said earlier, like you couldn't even connect to that conduit if you wanted to, just because you guys lose 51% of the water. Like just that percentage alone makes it, you know, it's like, wow, you know.
I'm gonna send this over to you in the private chat. It won't let me post a link.
Yeah, put it on the private chat. We can get it there.
It won't let me post a link in there.
Yeah, we can take care of that. If you put there you go.
Sorry, everybody.
yeah,
I was
you can
snacking on
kinda-
some chips if I was interrupting anybody's conversation. I didn't realize I was unmuted.
And this was, I think this might have been a voluntary survey, because I don't know, we have 200 and something cities and towns in Colorado, and they're for sure not all on this list. But Rocky Ford did respond. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see Aguilar. I don't see Trinidad, Walsenburg. I don't really see too many down.
Yeah,
that
you're
way.
not. You're definitely not going to see Aguilar. They haven't. They're way out of compliance. You're
Well,
definitely
and their taps are $6,000 a piece, Aguilar, for water and sewer, $6,000 a piece. That was the last I knew. And it's roughly the same in Walsenburg. It's maybe five or six there. So, roughly. So yeah, it definitely can be competitive. I mean, competitive never hurts, because I think you guys are way off from being competitive there in that area. You know, it's just little things, you know, that add up, right? So, I mean, I'm sure you guys don't issue like 150 water taps a year, but you know, even 10, that helps. So, like you say, that goes to, you know, those empty lots. Most of those you would think would already have taps in place, right? They've just been shut off.
Yeah, and that's something that I just saw when I think you all shared Walsenburg's agenda. So I was kind of poking around there, and I think they were talking about doing some changes to their water sewer rates. But one of the things that I saw that they had in their code is an abandonment. So it looked like if you don't have service for over a year, they'll come and pull your taps. And then if you don't reconnect them within a year, then they're considered abandoned. And if you want to turn them on, you have to pay a brand new tap fee. So that was something kind of interesting that others are doing.
Right.
Is that an ordinance or is that Like,
Yeah, it was in their ordinance.
Yeah, just how some people write it. Like I don't know, to that effect, I think maybe it's a little too much, you know. If you don't have to send them, I mean, I understand putting in the meter and such, you know, there's a little bit of work involved in that and pulling the meter as well. I can understand paying those type of fees, but a whole nother tap fee again. Well, then I'd be pissed that it was $5,000. You know? So you know, it's that yin and yang there. There's got to be a balance.
We just did a whole couple. Oh, this is probably earlier in the year. We've already had to raise our electric and water rates in Los Animas, and it was a huge jump. It was like double almost. It seemed like. Um, so it's we also going by my point. The ordinance wise, I know that we have ordinances for abandoned buildings, to where if you have an abandoned building, if the tap's still connected, I think the way it works is we have, after we give you a door knocker or whatever, if you don't respond with it, we put a fee on it, a monthly fee on the abandoned home if it's still connected to the grid, to our system. I think that's one of the ordinances we just passed.
Yeah, but why do you do that? If they're not using resources, if the tap is there, it's off, nothing's going to the house, why are you still charging a fee?
Well, the reason why I believe we're doing it is there's several reasons. Is one is that basically we want them to fix the house and make it habitable, because a lot of these houses, these people let, go to rot basically.
Yeah, but what if it's the houses that you know are upkept? You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, right. Well,
Like-
you can write a letter to Public Works and ask for forgivenesses on fees and stuff. I mean, there are other. If you're an actual homeowner who pays attention to their property, you can come and talk to us about it. And we usually give like let's say your water bill's outrageous for 1 month because you had a leak that you didn't know about. You can
Right.
come to us and be like, "Can I ask for forgiveness for this leak? I've got it fixed." And we give everybody at least one free break a year, one address a year for like breaks and stuff.
see, that's
But-
something that I think should be advertised a little bit better to the people, because I don't
Yeah,
think
grace
that
is
the
always
people-
nice, man.
I don't
you
think
know?
the people know what they can do, like what kind of programs are out. Is that a program or is that just
That's just for
something-
Public Works.
well, right?
You-
Is
that's
it
just
is
the
it,
city?
well, is it like a program? Would you have to apply for that? Like put in an application, put in a letter, or whatever?
Yeah, you have
Is
to
there a
just submit
process?
all you have to do is submit a letter with the bill to the Public Works Department, and then we double check and make sure that this address already hasn't filed for one. And then usually if it's the first time, I usually let it go. But there's some people that I'll ask questions and I'll find out that they let that leak run for 2 or 3 months. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, should we forgive this $800 water bill because they didn't want to take care of their leak in a, efficient manner? But that's a different story. But
Well, what if they were out of town so say it's a vacation home, they keep up on the house, right? But then again, I mean, yeah,
that
it's a
would be in the
vacation home.
circumstances in the
You
letter.
know what I'm
then.
saying?
Yeah,
So-
but that
Yeah.
again, that would be something that if that were the case, they could put that in the letter, and that would be taking something we put into consideration. There's no one concrete yes or no to any one of these applications.
Well,
We
okay,
take each
so
one by a
so-
one-to-one basis.
so if there's a charge to sit there and just have it vacant but not using, what would be the charge to say if it was a vacation home to have it come out and turned off and turned back on? So what do the people have to pay to have it turned off so that way they could like winterize their house or whatever, and then summertime comes and they come out for vacation, they have it turned on? What do those type of rates look like for people?
You know, I honestly, I'd have to ask the public works director. I have the paperwork, but it's not here in front of me. I have the financials, but I don't think, I don't really, I think you can just ask them to turn the water off and they turn it off. I
Yeah.
don't know if there is a fee to do
How,
something like
how's that
per
work in
se.
Rocky Ford, Dwayne?
Yeah, I know we don't have. I know what some people have a. I guess a dormant usage fee. So it kind of sounds like that, where maybe it's $25 to just stay connected,
Yeah,
but
it's not
there's no
expensive. Yeah.
usage. We don't have that. I know we do like temporary. I don't know what they call it, but you can do like a temporary shut off if you know you're gonna be gone, or maybe you're doing work on the house and you're not gonna be using anything for 3 to 6 months. You can go and let them know, and they'll turn it off, and you don't get billed anything, and you just don't have to. For us, you have to do a deposit when you start a new account. So they don't require that deposit when you turn it back on.
Well, what if you're not, Dwayne, what if you're not trying to close the account? So again, you want to keep your water to the place, the service. You just want it shut off for a couple of months out of the year. You don't want to, close the account. Is that possible? Can you keep the account, or when you shut it off, that's it? You shut it off.
Yeah, if they shut off if they shut off the actual valve, you would still, we have like a minimum. I don't know what the minimum is, but we have a minimum usage. Let's just call it 2,000 units. And that's included for $46. And then if you go over that, then it's, this dollar amount times the 1,000 gallons. So in that scenario, you would still pay that minimum. You just, you wouldn't be using any water. And to kind of, to jump on the other side of that, something, especially now looking at things from this side, when the systems are built and the costs are figured out, we're kind of figuring out these costs based on everybody, being connected and everybody, being a customer. So for example, with this sewer project, we're basing our numbers, basing our loan repayment off of 1,594 customers taps. So if we start losing people, and if 20 people want to shut off their service, then now we're have to rework that calculation, and everyone else who is still a customer is going to be paying a little bit more. So it's, when we look at it from this side, and then I think if you kind of look at it as a good citizen, a good community member,
how's that make you feel, Gary?
So I agree. I mean, if you're not going to use the water, I don't really see any need in paying for it. But I also understand that whether you're using the water or not, it's still, similar to your electricity. It still costs to put water through the pipe, even though it goes past your meter. So I don't really see a problem with having a dormant fee or whatever. As far as the and that's been one of my pet peeves over the years, especially with a lot of tenants, is getting the deposit high enough that it covers the water bill when the tenant moves out. And in early 2000s, that was a big contention for me, because we had I think it was like $25 or $50 deposit, and there was no way, the way the bills worked out, there was no way for that to even come close to even covering the deposit. So I advocated for, and believe it or not, I mean, it's for those of you crying about it now, I mean, I advocated for raising the deposits to be able to cover that fee, so that it wasn't costing me when the guy moved out. And I think Dwayne, you could probably answer me, but right now, it used to be we had to go before the council to get the deposit raised. And I think now it can just be raised internally, right?
No, any fees we still have to approve, but from that, and I don't know what the numbers are on them, but I know there is, if it's your primary residence, you're the property owner,
Right.
the deposit is this amount, so call it 100. And if you're a renter, then the deposit is like 200 now.
Yeah.
I don't know those numbers. Don't quote me
Yeah.
on those numbers,
And
but
with that
it
being-
is different if you're a renter or an owner.
And then with that being said, Dwayne, especially when we go ahead and get this water rate changed, at some point we're going to have to raise that again because we're adding whatever $39 or whatever to the
And
bill.
Gary, what are your feelings on the raising those tap fees?
So my own personal opinion is a guy comes in and he buys a lot in Rocky Ford. It's not going to make any difference whether that tap fee is $500 or $5,000. If he wants to come to Rocky Ford,
right,
he's gonna pay it.
Mhm.
And
That's what I
to
believe.
me, that would be maybe weeding out some of the guys that are kind of wishy-washy. And if you're coming here because it's cheap, then I don't want to say that we don't want you, but if you're coming here because it's cheap, then maybe you need to keep looking, right? And I'll probably get hammered for that one, but that's kind of the way I look at it. And if a person comes in, you're going to
at 5,000, that's not cheap. I mean, they go up 10, 12.
I know.
I've seen them. I've
not-
seen them
it's not
ridiculous fees. So 5,000 isn't necessarily cheap. It seems fair.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you think that to be competitive in the market that you would want to keep it somewhere in between? You know what I mean?
And you don't want to be the bottom and you don't want to be the top. You just want to kind of float along in the middle. And that's
I think you're at the bottom. I definitely think you're at the bottom.
Yeah. And again, a guy that's going to come in, at bare minimum, you're going to spend $250,000 on a house. And that's going to be a very small, probably no frills house. And
right.
What's $5,000 for a tap fee? I mean, sure, 500 is better, but 5,000, it's you're not going to.
It's all included in the construction loan, anyways.
Yeah, it's going to be a concluded construction loan, and same with the power and the gas. I mean,
no one would question it as long as it's fair. I'm not saying it's super high.
If there's 25,000, if there's 25,000 for a tap fee, then that may be a different story.
Right.
But,
and I think that might help the situation in a whole on that account.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
When you're getting 5,000 here, 5,000 there, if you're already doing it for under 500, then come on, that's money in the bank.
Just for the sake of argument, just throwing a figure out there. What if you came in at 2,500 or 3,000? You upped it to that, right? Don't you think that would kind of put you guys at the middle of the road?
Yeah, I think that would. And just to give a little backstory here, my water at my house is a small soft water company, and there hasn't been any taps available for years. You just can't buy a water tap because of the size of our system. So if you want to come in and you want to move into the outskirts of Rocky Ford and you want to be on Eureka water system, guess what? You're going to be paying, 50, 60, 100,000 for a piece of property that's just for that tap, basically. So that's one thing that I look at is, water tap is pretty much immaterial price wise. Is that going to keep a guy from coming in and building a house? No, it's not.
And water's such a huge asset. I mean, even if it's just home gardening,
right? Right.
I mean, just and for business too. Obviously, certain businesses. I'm not talking, huge industrious businesses, but if you've got horticulture or something like that going on, I mean, it needs a little bit of water.
Yeah.
So things like that. I mean, flowers sell for a lot of money, man.
Heck yeah, they do.
So.
And, I don't know about the city of Rocky Ford, but in other small water systems around, you can have a water tap, and it's going to cost you the same. If you can get the water tap, it's going to cost you the same whether you have a house and a garden or you have a feedlot that takes thousands of gallons of water. And that's what I would like to see more streamlined. That of course, the more we go, the more these big water users are going to be paying, and which I think is right. I don't think just because it's a big company, I don't think they should be getting free water. And then we've been talking about that at some of these work sessions with the toilets and some of the apartment complexes and whatnot in Rocky Ford. That Swain, they charge me sewer wise. They charge me by how many toilets I have, and then of course the water is just what it is. We have soft water for drinking. We have hard water to run those toilets. So we have two separate freshwater systems along with the sewer system.
Yeah, and it all costs money.
Yeah, it all costs money, and
yeah, that's always the kicker.
The only thing that I will say is in the past few years, it's like Dwayne said, with his wife being a real estate agent, she probably sees a different avenue of people coming in, and of course those home buyers is a little bit different than a tenant. But over the last few years, we have, just as landlords, we have found that a lot of what brings people into our town and our county and our area is the services that our county provides. I'm not saying it's better than Denver. They're just easier to access than some of the bigger cities. So we'll get people coming in from Denver, Colorado Springs, and they'll jump right on our social services type systems. And there again, I don't know that I agree with that, because somebody's got to suck that up. And although as a citizen, I'm not responsible for 100% of it, but somewhere down the line, our taxes are paying for that extra services that now we may be taken away from some of our citizens that have been here for years, just with people coming in and taking them.
Yes. And it's happening. I mean, people are shifting around a lot right now.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they're used to be like a guy looking for a house to buy. You're gonna search around. You're gonna find what house you can buy in your price range. And the other side is if you're a renter or you're on this social services system, you're gonna shop around and find whatever you're going to get, whatever's going to be the easiest and the best. And one thing that I have to compliment Dwayne on is the amount of people that he feeds with his food share program.
Yeah, people got to eat, man. That's
people
one thing
eat,
for sure. People got to eat, and you get, I'm sure you probably get beat up about it too, Mayor Dwayne, because I have friends over here that run food pantries, and it's a love and hate type thing. Well, if you don't feed them, maybe they'll go away type of attitude. Some of them have, versus, hey, everybody's got to eat, so you get two sides there. And I've seen it, so I can imagine you get it as well.
Yeah, I'll jump in there though, and that's kind of where, and I think Gary's talked about this before, like I'm there, so I get to, I see everybody, I talk to everybody, I, get to know everyone. And, for us at the pantry, it's our people. And we serve everybody. We serve Crowley, Otero, and Bent, basically anyone who can, make it. We don't have any requirements, but, it's all of our people. And one of the things that I think we've done a lot differently than other food pantries is because we don't have any of those eligibility requirements. We have a lot of the people in the community who, you know, you would maybe think, oh, well, they don't need to go to a food pantry. And it's, you know, it's not about like, hey, this is a place, you know, for people who don't have money to come get food. Like, this is a place that has food. Like, that's it. And we have some people who will come. We get a lot of, we work with a distributor for Whole Foods. So we get a lot of food that you would find at Whole Foods, which if you live here, we have people who drive to Colorado Springs to go to Whole Foods and Sprouts. You know, so they don't, if you want some different options, gluten-free, sugar-free, you know, any of those, you know, the options in Walmart and our grocery stores are, you know, a little limited. So we do offer a lot of different types of food. And, you know, we have people who will come like specifically just for, you know, one item. I know someone who, we have a bunch of sticky notes on our desk, and anytime we have hummus, we'll send a text message to this lady and let her know we have hummus, and she'll come just for hummus. So, you know, you can leave with the big box, but she'll leave with like 2 things of hummus. And it's been great because, you know, you'll see cars in our parking lot, and you'll see people who, you know, if it was like that feeling of, oh, this is only for, you know, people who can't afford food,
Right.
you know, they would probably be embarrassed to have their truck seen in our parking lot. But it, you know, it's not that. It's, you know, this is a place with food. And then, you know, we work now with all of our growers during season. So I think we probably just bought our last big load last week, and now we'll kind of shift into meat. But we buy a lot of produce and meat from our local producers, and you know, I think that's huge. You know, so they can come and get, you know, 100% real ground beef, you know, processed right down the block over in Fowler, and yeah, it's a lot different.
Yeah.
No doubt. Mayor, we've gone over our hour by at least 20 minutes. Are you good to go another about 10 minutes? We'll cut it about a hour and a half show.
I'm good on time. I kind of blocked out 2 hours just in case.
Gotcha. All right.
I'm taking lunch. Taking my lunch right now.
Well, you're not supposed to be that's against federal regulations. You're not supposed to be working on your lunch.
That's right. No work on your lunch break.
So is there any other questions that anybody has about Rocky Ford? In fact, you know what? I've got a question. So what do you think is the biggest thing that needs to be changed about Rocky Ford to get it to bring in more people to help bring up the infrastructure, to bring up the population in that area?
You know, I'd say it all starts and ends with us, with the community. You know, just like, you know, we hear on all these, you know, the council and the government is, you know, it's the community. So I think big thing is, you know, everybody needs to be reminded of that and really feel it and believe it, and it, you know, not just be lip service or, you know, a thing on paper. There's a lot, you know, like in a perfect world, we wouldn't need a code enforcement officer because we would just all keep our weeds decent. We would keep our, you know, our house clean, and our dogs in the yard or on a chain. And, you know, perfect world, we wouldn't need them. Perfect world, we wouldn't need police officers, you know, but of course, you know, we're never going to get there. Since the beginning of time, you know, we've had sin, and that's just, you know, something that we got to find that balance. But I think we already are a great place, and, you know, there's just things that I think have to happen from within, and, you know, then people are gonna either want to move back. People aren't going to want to leave. People are going to want to move back. And then for the people who are, you know, totally have never heard of Rocky Ford before, you know, when they drive down Highway 50 and they stop for coffee or for food, and then, you know, maybe they say, hey, let's go sit at this park. Where's the nearest park? And they go to that nearest park and they pass by some of the neighborhoods, and then they say, whoa, you know, I really like this place. It like my wife, she's asked a couple people, you know, how did they land on Rocky Ford? And I've heard it multiple times. People say that they were kind of looking in this area, like cost of living wise, you know, they cashed out somewhere and they were going to come and buy a house cash. They were looking cost of living, but they went through Fowler, they went through Manzanola, they went through Rocky Ford, went through Swink, went through La Junta, and we've heard it multiple times that the treescapes, the tree canopies are what made them want to be in Rocky Ford. And that's like one of those things where I never kind of taken for granted. Trees are trees, they're always there. But yeah, I guess if you do drive through some of our neighboring towns, they don't have it the same. And that seems to be something that has attracted people that had no tie to Rocky Ford.
Well, I've noticed that there's I mean it's a nice community, but how is it job wise there? Is there enough companies and stuff there to keep people employed, or do most of the people in that town have to go out and hit like La Junta or Los Animas or whatever to bring in income?
Yeah, for sure. You know, we as far as like actual numbers of jobs in Rocky Ford, you know, we don't have the jobs here. We have a lot of small businesses, and I guess our biggest employer is the school district, and then, you know, after that, not sure who falls in. The city might fall in second place behind the school district.
But it's pretty close.
You know, but in La Junta, in North La Junta, there's the big kind of manufacturing center there. So there's a lot of jobs there. Our healthcare's, you know, kind of spread out, but that's probably one of the biggest employers. And then, you know, the prisons. And then,
so
you know, one of the things.
So do you see that as a hurdle on trying to keep residents there?
Well, so one of the things that kind of a position I've been in, and you know, we talked about Small Town Project, our organization in the beginning, and when we started, we were focusing on workforce development, small business development, and you know, my dream was starting to get people trained up on remote jobs. So, you know, entry level IT or customer service. Rocky Ford, we're in a good place with broadband. We've been on fiber for about a decade, and you know, so we have high speed 1 meg internet here in Rocky Ford, and you know, that's something that I can see, you know, where it kind of instantaneously creates jobs that otherwise wouldn't be here,
Right.
and jobs that at entry level are paying more than, you know, some of our people are making, you know, 10 to 20 years into their jobs, you know. So that's something that I think is a big opportunity, is leveraging remote work. Well,
what about bringing in companies? And as much as I hate it, bringing in something like Amazon, I hate the company. I don't get me wrong, I hate the company, but they do create jobs for people in places like this. Has Rocky Ford or any of the surrounding towns thought about contacting Amazon and bringing in a website? I mean, there's plenty of land out there that I've seen for sale that would be able to facilitate a warehouse of Amazon size. Plus, it would bring in hundreds of jobs. Has you or anybody else in the surrounding area thought about contacting companies like that to bring in a warehouse into your area?
Yeah, so that has kind of come up, and where it's come up and where there's actually been some real research on it, it was around the closing of the private prisons in Benton County and Crowley County. So during that study, they looked at, you know, what other, if we close these 2 private prisons, that equals about 200 jobs that are going to be lost. 400 jobs. There's about 200 at each place, plus the property tax and all of those things, water service. Terry, you're keyed in on this. I think you were on council during this time, but they kind of looked at what about like Amazon or someone like that, and what it came out with was, those logistic companies, their big thing is transportation and access to major transportation. So they would want to be on I-25 or onto one of those big corridors, and then closer to an airport. So Walsenburg, when they were even looking at
Yeah,
the Wall
I remember they tried.
Yeah, when they were looking at Huerfano Private Prison, that one had a little bit more of a possibility because it was on I-25, but it was even still too far from a big airport.
Well, Walmart tried Walsenburg as well, and they got rejected there for a distribution center, which would have changed things there a lot. But
we're just too far off
Custom,
of the 25 corridor, really, for something like that.
Kinetic Custom has a good point here, though. Colorado is one of the first states to pass laws supporting the tiny home movement. How does that relate to Rocky Ford? I mean, that's a huge movement right now.
Yeah,
how do you guys say you got the vacant lots and such? I mean, how accommodating are you guys to that?
Yeah, and that's a conversation that needs to be had. So I don't know if everybody was kind of familiar with I think it was Senate Bill 223 last year, and that was going to kind of take local land use, kind of take the zoning and land use, and move it up to the state. And one of the things they wanted to do was to kind of make sure that they would have pushed out ADUs and tiny homes zoning across the state. So it would have kind of went into law that you have to have them.
I know Walsenburg's already done it. So I mean, I know there's
they're
places
illegal
that
here.
are doing it. So
that was rejected, and they want to make sure that there's local control maintained, but that's where we need to look at what that's going to look like here in Rocky Ford. It sounds like with some of our council, I don't know, we did have a development proposed, I think it was earlier this year, and there were concerns of the lot sizes being too small, which really kind of, it didn't sit right with me, because this development, it had lot sizes at 10 to 12,000 square feet. And we're currently at 7,000. My house is 7,000 square feet. So they were proposing larger than normal. And there was pushback saying that there was, too many homes on too small of a space. So, I'm not sure where council will be on those, but that's definitely an opportunity. I think it gives people, who already own homes, a chance to, build there, or, make another side income, or a way to keep, older adults, or maybe the young adults close to home. And
well, I know that here in Los Animas, I believe a couple of years ago, they passed an ordinance saying that you couldn't have a home that was under 750 square feet. So we basically said you can't build tiny homes here.
Yeah. So right now, Rocky Ford hasn't had that conversation, but it definitely needs to happen.
And with the water and the trees and so many people that are just trying to retire small, I mean, that could be a saving grace in itself,
Yeah, it made no sense to me why you would want to stop at any kind of development, whether it be a 750 yard, square foot tiny home or whatever.
As long as it's safe and it's not an eyesore.
It fits the code. If it fits the code, they pay the hookup fees. It's why stop it?
Yeah,
and I think that also stifles growth, like we were all talking about, because a lot of these houses that are abandoned, like in Los Animas, and I'm sure a lot of houses in the valley, a lot of them have been abandoned for so long, they're basically beyond repair, unless you really want to just go in and start from the foundation up. So it's cheaper to get a tiny home and buy a lot than it is to tear down. Because especially a lot of these houses, you gotta pay
Well,
that. The
and it could
asbestos
be more
check.
efficient all the way around, right? I mean, they
Oh
could
yeah,
use a lot less water, they could use a lot less power, they could be less of a drain and bring
some of them could be
stability.
self-sustainable.
Right. So it's just an option. You never know. I mean,
Well,
And
I know in my area they turned around and they made it so that you could do 900 square foot tiny house. You know what I mean? And I think that that's probably something that would be a doable item too.
and I think what we're finding out here, and I don't know what it is, and I know it's about the same in Lahana, but here in Rocky Ford, for the most part, everything sits on 25-foot lots. So you may have a house that sits on 3 lots, or you may have a house that sits on 2 lots or more. And as far as a vacant lot, I think there should be some kind of accommodation for a smaller house to fit the lot. Not that you want a house that's on a 25-foot lot that's 25 foot by 100 feet. You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
And of course we have side setbacks. I think it's 6 foot from the property line on each side, and so that takes a 25 foot lot down
perfect.
to very small. And I think we could do a little bit more there as far as being able to put like a smaller house, like a tiny house on those lots.
Because how much good is it doing sitting empty?
Yes,
I mean, that's been the whole conversation. How do we
Yeah.
fill these lots?
And
It's
and
just an unconventional idea, and usually it's the unconventional things that do it. I mean, back in the day, it was marijuana. I think
Yeah.
that's kind of past now,
That's kinda
dude.
went by
Like,
the wayside,
get
yeah.
the next wave, and I mean, that's a movement. I mean, these people are really getting into it, and some of them keep their things mobile even to where they're able to snowbird or whatever.
And I think that's part of it too. Is when you start with the tiny houses, there needs to be distinction between a tiny house and an RV, because nobody wants an RV parked between a couple of $300,000 houses. And then one more thing to go back to Dwayne was talking about that small where they were wanting to bring in. I can't remember. It's like 20 houses or something like that on pretty small lots, pretty small houses. I'm probably okay with a lot of that. It just needs to make sure, and I think what happened with part of this thing that they were trying to build was the width of the road. And as far as new construction, new developments, that definitely needs to have, as far as I'm concerned, my opinion is you need that road wide enough to get a couple of fire trucks down there safely with cars parked on the side of the road.
Well, I think one thing between a tiny house and an RV would be that a tiny house is basically on a foundation and hooked to the grid. RVs usually have to go to like an RV place to get hooked up.
Right.
And it's on wheels.
Yeah.
Now I know some of these tiny homes, they can be jacked up and put on flatbeds and moved.
Yeah.
But I don't think they actually have wheels that you can drop them down and hook it up to a hitch and roll them off.
Well, the point is, Terry, imagine if you didn't have to buy that 1,200 square foot house, you could buy a winter and a summer, both tiny.
No, and I agree.
Easily done. You could snowbird back and forth, and you're beneficial to both communities.
Yeah.
There's I don't know. The future is yeah. It's one of them things,
It's what it is.
You can't guess it, but I know, like the mayor said, the trees there are definitely a huge benefit.
That's definitely a plus for sure.
It is. We don't have trees over here, man.
Yeah, we don't have many trees here either.
It's something to capitalize on,
And that, like I said, that's totally something I've taken for granted because they've just been there. And, I've never really, I really haven't noticed going through other towns like that or appreciated it as much.
and I'm going to say one thing that, and kind of going back to people moving here. I can remember in 1997, I moved from La Junta all the way to Rocky Ford, and I put that off for years. I worked for a guy over here in Rocky Ford for years because there was no way I was going to drive that 11 miles or whatever it was, and from La Junta to Rocky Ford, and with today's climate, I mean, I'm telling you, I have an aunt in Virginia, or a cousin in Virginia that drives an hour and 45 minutes one way to work. I mean, the drive anymore is not a huge deal. So a person could have a high paying job in Pueblo or even Springs and drive it. I mean, it's
Yep.
It just depends on your wants and needs. Of course,
You guys need the Hyperloop. You need the Hyperloop going right
I'm
out
telling
there.
you, we need something.
All right, guys. Well, we're a little over an hour and a half. We'll go ahead and wrap up with final thoughts. I suppose we'll start with Terry Kim. Final thoughts, brother.
Well, it's just been very nice meeting you, Mayor Dwayne. And is it Gunilei? Gurule? Close enough?
You could just chop off the second U and say Gurley.
Goulet. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure meeting you, Mayor Goulet. And I've really been interested in hearing what your perspective is and how your city hall works after dealing with how my city hall works. And I really think that I have a lot of faith in what you're trying to do. I think you're the right kind of leader for what's going on in the valley. And I just wish you a continued success.
Thanks, Terry. And
Thanks,
just
Terry.
I know there's always a lot going on, but you and I we've met. You know, I don't know if you remember. I was working organizing over in Los Animas, and we were trying to start up a organization just like ours in Rocky Ford over there. I don't know if you remember that. Probably in 21, 22 with.
I was still on council then.
Yeah, so that was we've met. We sat and had coffee. But that was with Andrew Montoya and Amber
Right.
and some of those.
Yes, okay, yeah. Wasn't that like the Bent County Development Foundation or something like that?
No, it was going to be called.
No, I mean where we met at.
I think over at the cafe.
Ah, okay. Well, you have to forgive me. I'm a little fog-headed, but anyhow, I hope to meet you again. Maybe sometime when I'm driving through Rocky Ford, I'll swing by and see if you're in your office.
All right. I don't have an office, but send me a message and I'll meet you somewhere.
All right, you got it, buddy. Thank you again and good luck.
Thanks, Terry. Gary, how about you? Any final thoughts, brother?
Well, my final thoughts is I'm sure glad Dwayne was on, and I hope with just some of his insight that we can get some more mayors on here and maybe come together. I mean, I know Dwayne as a mayor, he's heavily involved with what is it, CML or something like that, and so he's already out there hobnobbing with the mayors. And but if we can get more people, I think involved, I think it would be a lot better. And of course, thank you GC or GC and Joshua for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Whoa! We don't use real names here. I'm just kidding. It's all good. Everybody knows me by either name.
Appreciate you, Gary. John Denicola, how about you, brother? Final thoughts?
I appreciate the fact that the mayor took the time to come out and join the panel. I think that if more people would come out and talk and have a discussion like we're having here today, I think that we'd be in a lot better place than we are. I think that the citizens, echoing what Gary said, the citizens need to start coming out and start paying attention to what's going on in government, because those are the people that need to be the ones. They're the watchdogs for government. We're the ones that are supposed to be watching what guys like Dwayne are doing and saying to them, when they're doing wrong, hey, you're doing wrong. And when you're doing right, you're doing right. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate the fact that Dwayne came on, because Dwayne is doing things right, in my opinion.
Exactly.
over in Rocky Ford.
I'll
So I
second
thank
that.
you for that.
All right, and then Mr. Mayor, final thoughts.
Yeah, well, thanks again, for inviting me and just, creating space for me to jump in the conversation. Gary, to that of trying to, connect with other mayors, I'll do my best and pose that challenge. I think one of the things that I've heard a lot from people is I don't look like a mayor or act like a mayor, and actually take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how many are going to be willing to, but I'll pose that challenge for sure. And I think it's it's going to be it's important for both sides, so the ones who are electeds and then the rest of the community to just remember that we're all citizens, and we elected these few people to kind of be the voice and show up to the meetings and do do the work for us, so we hear that, serving the people. And I definitely have seen where that gets lost or forgotten, and maybe the feeling that it's the other way around. But yeah, if I can kind of help and re emphasize, that we are here to serve, and hopefully that can help kind of, on what everyone's doing here, with just the accountability.
So my final thought is like you said it yourself, you didn't get a lot of the information that you thought was pertinent when you were on the council, like you do as the mayor. So I just want to emphasize, that falls on you to make sure that the people are educated, right? Because you're the one that's self-proclaimed, hey, I'm getting that information now, right? So I just want to make sure that you stay on top of that and make sure, because the educated public is the best, so and from what I see so far, you've done good. You've done really well, and we definitely appreciate having you on our show.
Yeah, thank you. And I know Good Citizen dropped it up in the chat, but if anyone wants to follow along on the journey over here in Rocky Ford, there's my Facebook page, and try to,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, keep everything, all the happenings with the city and then community wide, follow along there. And if anyone is absolutely tired of your community and you want to leave, come on over to Rocky Ford. We want everybody.
There you
Got
go.
him.
You people, you got any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, my final thought is pretty much I appreciate you coming up, and again, like everybody else, I appreciate you coming up, but I especially appreciate you going back and telling everybody where you came from, how you got there. And again, you're an inspiration in my eyes, and should be to a lot of people in this area and anywhere else, due to the fact of your background and how you've come up. I would actually like to see you go a little bit further than mayor. I really would. But that's my opinion. Other than that, I think it was a great show. Kinetic says, great input, mayor. Thank you for all the input.
Yeah, we appreciate all you guys in the chat. Thank you guys all for being here. Thanks for you guys' questions. If you guys on panel want to stick around, we'll be backstage after
I will say this. The mayor proves this: perseverance pays off.
It does.
Right.
It does.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this on the replay, thank you for watching the replay. And don't forget, go get a membership to GCM. That way. Yeah, that guy. Go get a membership to him. It helps us out greatly. If you want, just saying, it helps us out greatly. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful day. We're going to leave you with this little song. Hope you enjoy it. Have a great night.
You're not from here. You need to go.
tyrant we had feared. Like Houdini, they disappeared. Once ruled with an iron fist, now all they do is throw little fits. They thought they were strong, turns out they were wrong. When they try to take us out, they end up tearing their hair out. Law and order, we're bringing it back, as long as the council stays on track. United we stand, divided we fall, still looking for that justice for all. Used to loom so big and tough, all they were huff and no puff. The echoes of our words now haunt them, the things they tried to push behind them. We once trembled in their wake, now we see they were fake. Are the audits real or just pretend when there's no real proof to send?